When I think about power bottoms in BL, I think about characters that are fiery and dominant, with assertive personalities that defy traditional stereotypes of being meek and submissive to their BL partner. These characters are confident, bold, and often have a more dominant and narcissistic side to them. So, without further ado, let's look at top 10 power bottoms in recent BL series. Nunga is a very fascinating character to analyze. At first glance, he might not look like he will fit into the power bottom archetype, but you can really see his journey of growth as the episodes progress, and he really comes into his own as the series progresses. Nunga is initially a sheltered and reserved character heavily burdened by the expectations of his wealthy family and his role as an heir. However, as the series progresses, his fiery and assertive nature begins to emerge, particularly in his relationship with Palm. Initially, Palm played the role of his protector and his respite. However, as the series goes on, the dynamic between them changes and the initial shy and reserved Nunga assumes a more powerful position in their relationship. He was the one making bold decisions, taking charge and protecting Palm in the moments of adversity. I know, I was as shocked as you when I got to know that the senior who bullied Doyoon is actually the bottom in the series. In traditional yaoi, a bottom character is typically depicted as more passive and submissive, but Song Juha is the opposite of that archetype. Since Juha was a senior, he often helped Doyoon whenever he was getting bullied by other seniors. But when he realized that Doyoon had a different feelings towards Juha, he got scared and taken aback. This is when he started to bully Doyoon in order to hide his own growing feelings towards him. Juha is extremely insecure and afraid of being vulnerable towards Doyoon, so in order to hide his emotions, he was often abusive and dismissive towards him. But when Doyoon had finally had enough and he stopped paying attention to Juha, Juha finally came around and admitted his feelings for Doyoon. You would never think that reserved and thoughtful-looking Kaofeng is the dominating one in the relationship between Tan and him. The difference in energy between lively Tan and the quiet Kaofeng creates the push and pull dynamic that is very interesting to watch. Kaofeng is hesitant to trust Tan initially and hides his vulnerability from him, but as they continue to grow close, Tan breaks down Kaofeng's walls and Kaofeng reveals his softer side to him that is only reserved for Tan. While Tan might seem like the dominant one due to his confidence and eagerness, Kaofeng quietly holds emotional power. Tan constantly craves Fang's attention, always acting like a puppy in front of him, and his reward is always Kaofeng's adoring smile looking at his funny antics. Tongrak and Mamut had a very intense relationship ever since they first met each other. Even in the heated exchanges and bickering, there was this undeniable spark between them that they couldn't hide however hard they tried. Tongrak was a fiery character who had a strong viewpoint about everything and he appeared very self-assured, while Mamut was more composed and exuded a quiet strength which complemented Tongrak's vibrant personality very well. Tongrak was initially distant towards Mamut due to his past trauma, and although they were physically close, he was always afraid to be vulnerable in front of Mamut and give his heart to him. But seeing Mamut's protective and caring side, Tongrak's cold exterior slowly broke down and he started trusting Mamut with his feelings. Seungwoo is the textbook power bottom in BL. Like if someone wants to study what power bottom in yaoi really is, then they should just analyze Seungwoo's character in semantic error and they will get their answer. Seungwoo is a control freak. His adherence to logic and structure makes him dominant in a non-traditional sense, as he always operates on his own terms. In initial stages, his ability to stay neutral about Jaeyoung's advances forces Jaeyoung to chase him madly, even though Jaeyoung was the most popular guy in the university. Even when Jaeyoung flustered him, he acted cool in front of him, making Jaeyoung lose confidence in his ability to seduce him. Seungwoo dictated the speed and depth of their relationship. Jaeyoung may have initiated playful banter or skinship, but it was always Seungwoo who decided when and how things progressed between them. Jaeyoung was the more outwardly dominant character, but he constantly adjusted himself to accommodate Seungwoo's boundaries. He softened his playful advances and learned patience because Seungwoo demanded respect even in his quiet way. It's no surprise that Ray's volatile personality held an insane amount of influence and control over Sand and his relationship. Ray was impulsive, brash, and didn't hide the fact that he was in love with someone else and was just using Sand as an emotional support tool until he got the person he had been crushing on for years. Despite Ray's unfiltered honesty, Sand couldn't help but fall for him. Ray was the demanding one in the relationship and he would often exert his authority over Sand, but never let Sand have any claims over his time or his feelings for him. Sand constantly adjusted himself to Ray's emotional intensity, which gave Ray the upper hand in the relationship. Ray's self-destructive tendencies, his drinking, reckless decisions, and lack of regard for consequences forced Sand to act as his anchor. This imbalance created a power dynamic where Sand was constantly drawn to fix or care for Ray. This gave Ray an indirect hold over Sand, as Sand was deeply invested in Ray's well-being and fell deep in love with him. Style has a red flag guy like Fidel wrapped around his skinny fingers, and nobody can deny this fact. Fidel, who had vowed not to get involved with anyone after the heartbreak he went through with his ex, is completely and utterly obsessed with Style, and even after knowing how Style betrayed him and helped his friend Kang surrender him to the police, Fidel is still unable to hurt Style or take revenge on him. Fidel's obsession with Style defies logic, and he himself is unable to understand the grasp Style has over him. His brooding face cannot fool anyone, especially not Style, as he's always unfazed even when Fidel put a gun to his head, because he knows he has his man wrapped around his fingers and that man can never hurt him. He can be mad for a while, but he will never harm him. My Beautiful Man is probably the most unconventional Japanese BL I've ever seen, because Kyoi, who is a traditional bottom, is the one who exerts complete emotional, psychological, and relational control over Hira. Kyoi knows how smitten Hira is with him, and so he uses his devotion to bully him and keep him under his control all the time. He would often get jealous when he found Hira talking to other people, but never let Hira question him about his whereabouts and engagements. In the beginning, Kyoi refused to openly acknowledge his feelings for Hira, which gave him leverage over him, and even when he was vulnerable with Hira, it was on his own terms, which ensured Kyoi always had an upper hand over him. I also loved the fact that he was totally submissive when it came to intimacy and skinship, but his behavior was completely opposite in other day-to-day activities. Han's mysterious and guarded aura is a magnet to fire. His confident persona and the way he's always so protective towards fire is totally opposite to what a traditional bottom in yaoi is supposed to behave. Than is always subdued and calm during confrontations and whenever fire pushes him away, so he exerts dominance in his own unique way. Than constantly challenges fire, often teasing him and pushing back, which helps in maintaining a dominance in their relationship. Than uses his wit and sharp tongue to keep fire on his toes all the time. And the award for the most powerful bottom in BL goes to Captain Vasan. Dr. Khan's calm and composed demeanor contrasts with Vasan's fiery and assertive personality. Even though everyone around him trusted Khan as a doctor and he was constantly proven innocent, Vasan still always trusted his gut and was suspicious of Khan the whole time. Even though his own feelings betrayed him and he fell in love with Khan, his sense of justice was more powerful than all of those feelings, and he ended up catching Khan as the killer and putting him behind bars. Vasan doesn't just wear his heart on his sleeve, he wears his badge on it too. His love for Khan may have been real, but his sense of duty to society and himself was even more so. A man who can arrest the love of his life and still hold his head high deserves all the accolades. So which power bottom is your favorite from this list? Let me know in the comments. Bye lovelies!